Hundreds of devotees were in what should have been the ultimate manifestation of seclusion, only to be confronted by absolute darkness, culminating in a terrifying collision between the wrath of the elements and the calm of Our Lady's presence, which, in seconds, transformed terror into the certainty of a miracle. The impact of this changed the lives of everyone present, proving that the power of devotion can rewrite the laws of nature before your very eyes. But first, I ask that you dedicate this moment to those who truly need it. Write in the comments below the names of relatives and friends who require divine intervention, as we will include them in our main prayer of the Rosary. The scenery was breathtaking. A sacred mountain, marked by verdant trees and rocky paths traversed by so many holy feet, carried an energy that seemed to float in the air, permeated by the history and devotion of men of profound spirituality who passed through there, echoing the holiness and closeness of the Master Jesus Christ, felt there in the form of the purest divine peace. Hundreds of people climbed, singing hymns in voices filled with faith, their hearts heavy with hope for healing, peace for their families, and solutions to their daily difficulties, each carrying their burden toward the summit, where a majestic statue of the Blessed Virgin rested, which from above seemed to watch over the entire valley and promise protection to pilgrims. The horizon that day radiated serenity, bathed in the warm sun that blessed each step. It was the perfect setting to feel divine grace hovering over the earth, a place where nature itself seemed to bear witness to the beauty of collective faith, making that day the fulfillment of that long-awaited devotion, under an aura that invited introspection and deeper conversion. As the sun set, marking the exact time everyone gathered at the foot of the great stone statue, kneeling with rosaries in hand, the intensity of prayer reached its peak, transforming that space into an uninterrupted stream of supplications and chants that rose to the heavens in unison, a moment of rare and profound spiritual communion where each individual became part of something much greater. Each intention carried was like a pillar of light. Prayers for destroyed homes, for restored health, for a word of comfort in the midst of pain, or simply the desire to finally feel the warmth of God's love. And all of this merged in the expectation of finding comfort and presence from Our Lady, in the absolute conviction that there, in that spot on the planet, their prayers would be heard with particular attention and maternal care. The fervor was visible, palpable, an invisible shield built of faith and love, as the group leaders raised the rosary, inviting everyone to recite the final prayer that would seal that blessed day of pilgrimage and surrender. However, the prevailing serenity was shattered in a dramatic instant, when nature, in its most frightening form, decided to test the conviction of those believers, proving that sincere devotion is not always spared from trial and chaos. On the opposite side of the mountain, where the sky was still blue and clear, a menacing mass of air appeared. A giant cloud, black as coal, swelled and spread at incredible speed, an aberration that consumed the sunlight, dragging with it a deafening roar that foretold the violence of the impending storm. It was the harbinger of a scourge, of a test of faith placed suddenly and brutally before those who sought only peace. Lightning began to tear at the dark edges of the cloud, illuminating its frightening form, and the wind, which had previously been only a gentle breeze, transformed into a furious roar that whipped the trees, throwing debris down the mountain. Panic was immediate for many, as the sight of that celestial cyclone consumed what remained of the horizon, transforming the idyllic landscape into a stage of terror, forcing the crowd to confront the most basic instinct of self-defense, in which the fear of chaos was as real as the force of nature. Lightning struck ever closer, seeming to pursue the pilgrims with violent intent, and the torrential rain, which arrived first, fell sideways and hard, more like a punishment than a natural precipitation. The murmur of prayers turned to screams and confusion, with some running desperately for the safety of the valley, trying to get away from the threat of the cloud that engulfed everything in its crushing darkness. However, in front of the statue of Our Lady, a central group, moved by a faith that seemed to defy reason, planted their feet on the stones and remained kneeling, embracing each other in prayer, transforming the place of panic into a center of spiritual resistance. It was at this point that the indescribable event occurred, shocking even the most skeptical, causing physical chaos and spiritual conviction to collide in a way never before seen, in a spectacle of pure intervention. Just as the black cloud was about to reach and completely cover the place where the most fervent believers knelt, the exact spot in front of the statue of the Virgin, something supernatural happened. The wind abruptly stopped over that circle of faith. The storm continued raging, yes, lightning tore through the surrounding darkness. The sound of the rain continued deafening on the mountainside. But right there, around the statue, in the center of prayer, a cone of silence and eerie calm was established. The light itself, even beneath that threatening cloud, seemed to emanate directly from the Virgin and envelop the faithful, a subtle yet insurmountable barrier that halted the destructive advance of the elements and brought an inexplicable and imposing peace that penetrated each kneeling soul, suffocating fear with a divine presence. The storm, which seemed destined to sweep over the mountain, suddenly diverted its strongest course, streaming down the mountain's flanks, while the sacred center of prayer remained untouched, immersed in the spectacular sight of the gigantic cloud being held back by an invisible force, proving to the pilgrims the absolute superiority of divine peace over earthly adversity. When the cloud finally slowly moved away, retreating before that undeniable demonstration of Marian power, the mountain was flooded not by sunlight, which was still struggling to appear, but by the indelible certainty that devotion has a price and a reward that defies all scientific logic. All those who remained, embraced and soaked, arose with a visible mark on their faces and hearts. The absolute peace that resides in trust and unshakable faith. The presence of Christ and the Virgin was not only felt, but witnessed as a shield against evil and fear, reiterating that the refuge of the Most High is always a real shelter, available to all who choose to pray in the midst of turmoil. The story of that collision between the fury of the storm and the barrier of prayer reminds us that our daily lives are often like climbing that mountain. We experience moments of beautiful scenery and sudden dark clouds that threaten to destroy our emotional and spiritual stability. Storms arrive in the form of family arguments, hopelessness amid unemployment, difficulty in forgiving, or coldness in faith. And it is precisely in these moments that we are called to resist, just as the pilgrims did, kneeling in constant prayer. We must seek that same divine peace not only in distant sanctuaries, but in our homes and in our hearts, transforming forgiveness and constant conversion into our daily protection, understanding that true faith is that which remains burning when the lightning strikes closest. Therefore, may the strength of that devotion on the mountain inspire us to have more hope and to pray fervently, adding more names to our list of intentions so that the divine presence may extend to all families in need of help, and that we may all be flooded with this unforgettable and incomparable peace of mind. Come back here and rewrite the names of people who need intercession in their lives in the comments. I would love to hear your thoughts on the power of this message. Have you ever experienced a storm of doubt or difficulty in your life that was transformed into calm by your unwavering faith and prayer? Comment below which part of this story touched your heart most, sharing your perspective on how we can bring this peace found on the mountain to our daily lives. Remember that by liking this video, you help bring this powerful message of hope and devotion to thousands of others who need this divine inspiration. By subscribing to the channel, you ensure you will always be with us on this journey of faith, exploring the most curious and inspiring events in the religious universe. May the blessing of Our Lady's peace be with you.